since Gary and Carrie, when they interact with other people, how does this help or hinder them during the race?
Well, one of the things I've seen from both of them is they know everyone, they interact a lot with different people, and one of the best ways to lose time in 100, especially one like ours that has 16 aid stations, is to spend 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 minutes at each aid station. And that will happen with both of them. And when I did see them early on, that was already happening. They weren't spending 10 minutes, but just 3 minutes at each aid station, you lose almost an hour of time in terms of your completion time. You're adding that much time in there, so you really have to be careful at the aid stations. And just the nature of who they are and so on causes them to really waste a lot of time at the aid stations, if that's all they cared about was the time. But that's not the total reason they run. I mean, Gary wants to be first. Carrie won an award this year as well. They're competitive, but at the same time, ultra running has a tremendous social aspect to it, and they're very much into that side of the sport. That's when I say they know everyone. Part of the reason they know people is they'll be running along the trail and they may be passing somebody. They'll stop, or I shouldn't say stop. They'll slow down, have a conversation with them for half an hour, and then they pass them. And that's one of the great things about this sport that I found so interesting once I discovered it about 20 years ago, was that it's not all about the running. It's not about the miles. It's more than that, and it's part of being a group that enjoys doing certain things together, and so people get into that social aspect of it. I mean, I've been lucky enough to participate personally in some events where you do loops and you can come back and talk to the leaders, and they'll do that. They'll slow down a little and go with the slower people, and so the social aspect's really important. But it can really cost you time. We tried desperately to push people out of the aid stations, especially towards the back of the pack, because that's where it's most injurious. In that somebody gets a little carried away at the aid stations, they sit in a chair, they really want to take some rest, but they really shouldn't because they're close to the cutoff times. And pushing them out of the aid station is sort of one of the aid station captain's duties, to make sure that nobody gets cut off at the aid station because they happen to be sitting in a chair. Or if they're doing that, they're making themselves so close to the cutoffs that they'll get cut off before the next aid station. It is not something we want to do with the aid station in terms of cutoff times. It's necessary because you just can't be out there forever. There has to be some time limit. But you have to be careful with that social aspect, in that it can destroy your event. It can absolutely destroy your event. I've seen people do that.